next speaker will be Lynn Zhou.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lynn from grade 8, WahahaSchools. The summer vacation is coming. Do you guys have any plan for the summer vacation? I'm willing to bet you won't spend the whole entire summer studying. Me either. Studying all the time is hardly the students want to use their precious holiday. But here in China, it's life for many of us, including myself. Let's roll back the clock, shall we? 5 years ago, I went to the US for a summer camp. Naturally, everything was in English, and my fluency was less developed than now. I knew almost nothing the teacher said. However, I know how to get by. I pretended very well, and I survived by guessing most things and getting some help from my Chinese friends. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't an unpleasant trip. I remember that was my first time using a pad to make an animation with my friend, and that part was pretty cool and interesting. In addition to that, having 1 hour of physical exercise every day was also enjoyable. Well, it was fun not because I was a big fan of tours, but mainly because I didn't need to speak a lot of English for it. That was not the only time though, far from it. 4 years ago, I was in a Thailand International School summer camp. My mom chose Phuket that time as she had become quite tired of cooking every day for me during the summer in Los Angeles. Luckily, the Phuket summer camp was great. I started to understand what the teacher was talking about in English. Trekking in the tropical rainy forest was also an impressive experience. And the whole day in the water park was also super fun. I enjoyed it and even started to consider having a camp every year, travel out of these things for a summer camp. Do any of the parents have your plan to send your guys overseas for a summer camp? Yes? I see some of you are nodding your heads. Yes, thank you. I think your children will be grateful to you. Then, 3 years ago, we all became acquainted with the pandemic called COVID, and all the traveling restrictions followed soon after. No summer camps overseas, and no any travels out of the country were allowed. That really upset me, since I always want to try something new and different, and I felt traveling overseas was the best way. That said, the overseas traveling bit was not the worst part. That was not how it ended. 6 months later, the government also informed us that we could not even travel out of our province. Another 6 months later, we were not even able to travel out of the city. And then, suddenly one day, we were told to stay at home every day. It was not even possible to go to a supermarket with your family. As you can imagine, I felt so frustrated. It was like the world was shrinking. At that time, I began thinking that our lives were not going forward, but backward. Then, something changed my feeling of going backward during a trip to Taiyuan, the capital of Shanxi province. Taiyuan is an ancient capital with a history of more than 2,000 years. In the Shanxi Museum, I saw a group of young volunteer guides. They knew a lot about those ancient exhibits and could connect them with Chinese history very well. Some of those primary kids are even smaller than me, but they already knew a great deal about our nation and even discussed many cultural problems. It when an idea struck me. If we cannot travel as far as before, maybe it is a good chance for us to look inward. We grow up as Chinese, but how much do we know about our culture, our nation, its history, and its humanity? Very little. There's so much more to learn. Following that revelation, I talked my parents into taking me to participate in more domestic trips. The first stop after Taiyuan was in Yinchuan, a city in northwest China. Before going, I thought there was nothing interesting there except tasting meat. I discovered that I had been gravely mistaken. Yinchuan was so exotic. It was a very different part of China from what I'd been familiar to. There I got to know the ancient dynasty, Xixia, for the first time, and the story of Xixia's three kings was very dramatic and mysterious. And when I saw the giant tomb of the Xixia's kings in the boundless deserts, that scene made me feel a bit ashamed. I had known the pyramids in Egypt for a long time, but why had I never known of those Chinese pyramids before? So parents, before taking your children to Egypt for a long way, I strongly recommend you to take them to Yinchuan to have a look at those Chinese pyramids. Later on, my family went to Yunnan province in southwestern China. In Xishuangbanna, a very warm city near China's country border. I went to a multicultural market held on Sundays. I saw people in different clothes, all with big smiles on their faces. They were all wearing special clothes from their nationalities. Some colorful, some mostly dark, and some really luxurious. The food they offered on the market was also very diverse. They were introducing what they were selling in a friendly manner, even though it seemed we didn't speak the same language. They were also selling some brochures with writing that I could not understand at all. Yes, they had their own oral and written languages, which were far more difficult to me than English. I realized that the fact that China had so many national minorities, but I knew very little about them. It was stimulating to see these type of authentic Sunday markets, which was also so different from what I saw before. It was even hard to imagine that this was also China. Wow, isn't it better than simply spending a day on the beach, idling in Thailand? I got to know so much about culture and humanities here in Xishuangbanna. These travels awakened my great interest to explore more inside China, our own nation. I started to watch documentaries of the Xixia dynasty and searched for books about China's national minorities. Thanks to the travel restrictions in the past 3 years, I stopped only looking at the outside world and began to look inward and learn more about the nation in which I live. It really is about how you look at the curves life throws at you. Now, the world is treating COVID as a kind of flu, which means we're ready to travel around the whole globe again. The door is reopening and it's time to move outward and forward. To end my talk today, I want to share you with my real story from my great-grandpa. Almost 100 years ago, my great-grandpa was born in a very small village in Yunnan province. One day, he found he had become tired of the peaceful village life and started to be curious about the outside world. He spent a whole week to walk to Changsha, and he was about 20 years old. That was about 230 kilometers. He was introduced to art at that time and began to be very interested in art of sculpture. So he stayed in Changsha and spent days and nights learning about sculpture. He found he had learned everything he could inside China. Then he heard about how France was famous for its sculptures, and he wanted to go to France. There was no way for him to go though. He did not have a passport or a visa, and he had no money at all. But nothing could stop his passion to learn art, and he did something really crazy. He secretly slipped onto a ferry and finally arrived in France. He then spent 15 years there in Paris, learning, living, and working. He became back to China Academy of Art after World War II and became the first dean of the sculpture department. He became famous in the sculpture area since he was the founder of animal sculpture in the country. He taught a lot of students over the years. This was also how he became successful, step by step, exploring inward and outward. Today, I'm here doing TEDxYouth talk. I know there are teenagers all around the world doing the same events. We talk about the same topics which we are interested in. And now, I am confident that I will know more about our own motherland after the 3 years of exploring inside the country. And I will continue my exploring. Hope you can join me in this fun and exciting journey to the future. Thank you.